Serious, what is something most people don't realize can psychologically mess someone up in the head? Being lied to consistently by someone you had built trust in, and then finding out you were lied to. I don't think some people realize that trust issues can't just be unlearned instantly, and that reassuring someone isn't necessarily going to help. Trust is like a house of cards. It takes a lot of time and effort to build, but only one careless action to destroy. Homelessness. The longer you are experiencing homelessness for, the more fricked you become. I was without a home or a job for just a month in a city, and it was by far one of the most challenging and depressing experiences I've ever had that still to this day affects my mental health. Imagine people who can't get out for years. Homelessness can create mental disorders. As a parent, being too egotistical to admit you're wrong and always blaming your kids for everything or making them feel stupid about what they know rather than admitting you were wrong. People mocking your smile or laugh. If people say you laugh too loudly or you smile weird, you won't be able to smile for a while without instantly catching yourself and stopping. Yay. I had some friends tell me I look weird when I smile with my mouth closed, and I haven't forgot it 10 years later. I often think about it when smiling. Yelling at a child and telling them they are a failure and can't do anything right. I'm still messed up from it, but my dad doesn't understand that. My family is the type to suck it up and not talk about it. My parents will say this to my face and behind my back only to brag to each other and anyone listening about how smart I am and all the things I can do. It fricks me up because I'm 19 and I can't tell which is the truth and which is the lie. Having any and all experiences diminished because someone has it worse than you or you merely met expectations. Even positive experiences weren't to be celebrated because of course you succeeded on your studies. You're supposed to. Winning a sports game doesn't matter because it's what you're supposed to do. You broke a bone? You're fine, take some Tylenol and go right back to school work. You're sick, but you're well enough to read a book. So why don't you get up and help me with the housework since you were too sick for school? Traffic accidents. Exactly 5 years ago today I was in a bad one. I wasn't injured, but it was pretty bad. 7 vehicles, 10 victims, 2 car fires, and a major freeway shut down for 3 hours. After it was all over I went back home, bought another car with the insurance money, and went back to my life. No worries, right? A year later I was almost in another accident. A white pickup truck, like the one in the previous accident, blew through a stoplight and almost hit me head on. It was a good thing I had the day off, because I spent the rest of the day shaking like a leaf. I didn't realize until that moment how bad I'd been fricked up by the accident, and I've been working through it ever since. Agreed. I was the passenger in a T-bone accident 16 years ago. The car I was in was making a left turn and another car blew through a stoplight. I still get antsy on left turns as a passenger, grip the door and sometimes have to close my eyes if I feel like the oncoming cars are going too fast or getting too close. Never taking a break from school or work and having a day to yourself can really clear your mind up. If you work all day it can really damage you and how you approach work situations. This, and also you need to have an actual weekend, someone's 2 days off in a row. My wife never had consecutive days off for years no matter how much I implored her to. When she finally started doing that sometimes she acknowledged what a difference it made. Being repeatedly told it doesn't matter who started it, with it being physical violence. Sometimes only one person is starting that violence and that is abuse. Yes, even when the people involved are children. Yes, even when the victim defends themselves. Telling me that over and over eventually taught me I couldn't fight back if I wanted any adult to believe me, which was a dangerous lesson that facilitated later abuse. Poverty. The poor are the butt of many jokes, are generally disliked and mistrusted and suffer a lot more than most of us. The stresses of poverty can literally hinder childhood brain development. Telling someone to stop crying because their problems aren't as bad as others. If a grown person wants to cry because they're having a hard day or whatever, give them privacy and let them cry. A brain injury. I had a brain injury due to a traffic accident in 2012. Sure, I can keep a job, I can move up the ladder, I can pay my bills, but I have been close to suicidal thoughts since then. It's like there are days where I just want relief that is not attainable. My short-term memory makes normal things difficult. Luckily I am well spoken and my friends know me as a nice, intelligent person. But this cloud gets bigger and bigger, and I find it harder to cope every day. Brain injuries suck because you can't explain them. You can't make someone understand. Sometimes I wish I would have just shattered a bone. At least I could deal with physical pain. The alternative is so much worse. I still have a hard time letting other people drive me, or worse going through intersections. But what scares me the most is the almost guaranteed early onset memory loss that I am already feeling. Anyway, I hope everyone stayed safe and don't text and drive please. Dismissing mental health issues as being weak or selfish, especially if those dismissing the issues are your family members or people you looked up to. After 10 years my mum still diagnoses my anxiety and mental health problems as just not appreciating what you have. Bedbugs. Maybe overly dramatic, but I'm dealing with a minor case RN and I'm scratching myself bloody from phantom itching. No bites, no welts. Edit, since having the apartment treated, but the paranoia is driving me up a wall. I'm scared to walk around in my own apartment and have had multiple panic attacks daily since this whole thing started. It doesn't help that I'm also agoraphobic, and my home has now become an unsafe place. Forcing others to constantly listen to your own problems without providing relief. It's emotionally exhausting and can be just as harsh to deal with as your own issues. Telling someone if you left me I would hurt kill myself, it gives them a lot of pressure and overall it can make them feel locked to you and they can't leave because they don't want you to do anything to yourself. It's a big red flag and could be a sign of a toxic relationship. Constant negative interaction with the internet. I say internet specifically because everyone knows that constant negative input is bad, but online we can more easily disguise it as fun. People who dedicate forums and blogs to constantly hating on something or someone. People who create troll accounts for a laugh but then spend hours of their day making other people feel bad. People who log on just to argue, or deliberately looking to be offended. It's all incredibly damaging psychologically. The same goes for interacting with these people. It might seem fun at first to engage with them, to try and get one over on them, or debate them in return. And in small doses, like most things, it's harmless. But constantly engaging, or seeking these people out to beat them at their own game, or otherwise interacting with them frequently and with genuine investment, can quickly make you feel like crap. Basically it's like a backstage fight at a circus. You might be winning, but you're both still clowns. Arguing in good faith with people that are either trolls or so invested in their viewpoint that they savor irritating people that disagree is a headache. Anybody that gets off on aggravating people should be humanely tortured, as oxymoronic as that sounds, like forced to eat Carolina Reapers or something. Parents, treat your kids equal. It sucks when you don't. I expect more out of you. I'm disappointed in you. Stuff like that. I did study. I suck at taking tests. I'm trying my best. Sleeping too much somehow causes depression, which stinks because when you're depressed you'll want to sleep too much. Starts a deadly cycle. Repeatedly telling kids they are gifted, above average, or extraordinary. It may be true that they are smart or show talent in some way, but the child will internalize this expectation that they need to achieve, excel, and be the best. As adults, they may wind up either overwhelmed with pressure to achieve or feeling like a failure if they didn't live up to expectations. Gaslighting. Seeing, hearing, experiencing one thing and then being told that it never happened or that you are remembering it wrong. Doubting my own sanity was the worst part of my marriage and divorce. I still don't trust my own memory. Weight issues, eating patterns, comments about weight. Sometimes, you might be built a little differently from your friends or family. Comments like, oh wow, you're getting a little big for your age, or well, she needs a size bigger than everyone else, stay with you for a long time. I cheered and did gymnastics for quite a while. I loved my friends, coaches, and most of the parents. I'd get weird comments from time to time because although I was in shape, I wasn't thin. I was the base, the stronger one. Having a mom yell, hey, we need a bigger size across the room was humiliating. And I was just young. I started changing in the bathroom instead of the locker room because I didn't want anyone to see me. I didn't talk sizes anymore. To this day, I can remember the other comments that my friend's mom made to me about being bigger as a size 3/4 as a freshman in high school, as her daughter was a 0-0. Those passive-aggressive comments stayed with me throughout my life, and it has been difficult to move past them when I get to a low point. Things aren't always perfect, sure. People aren't always sensitive with the words that they use. However, when an adult is more focused on a kid's size than the kid, that's when problems begin and lifelong issues occur. A girl I went to high school with always passively aggressively says whenever I run into her when visiting my hometown, "As you can see, I am still a size 0, while she looks my fat butt up and down. I usually comment, "As you can see, I still don't care." Being told if you leave me just know, no one will ever want you, and then having nothing but horrible experiences with men ever since. If someone says that, the one thing you know is that you're better off single than being with them. Kids teasing other kids about their weight can definitely have a lasting negative effect on the kid as they enter adulthood. Partners and parents speaking of weight too. Just don't talk about people's weight, ever, no matter who they are. You don't know what's going on. That goes for losing weight and gaining. Look up body neutrality and let's do that. Ignoring your children. My parents did this to me, and it messed me up. Hospitalized for depression and suicidal thoughts. Emotional neglect. Ghosting. I don't think anyone realizes just how long someone will question what exactly did I do wrong. In my experience, people take it a lot better when you're upfront and honest, because at least then they can skip the soul searching. I definitely agree with this. Just be real, let them rip off the band-aid and move on with their life. Being made fun of how you look, followed by the "it was just a joke." You really never know what the person is going through and what they fight to try to accept themselves and their body looks. Just don't call someone fat or ugly or make jokes about something people cannot change from day to night. It hurts. As a chubby girl, I've been listening to this since ever, from family, friends, at my job. Just don't. It makes people hate themselves. There are many things in the child-parent dynamic that I feel can be mentioned. Two of which would be physical punishments and dismissing a child's emotional viewpoint response to something because you can't be bothered to deal with it. Both can really mess you up, and maybe say anyone present that is a millennial or older likely experience the former. Cheating. You don't know how much anxiety and self-doubt it can give to someone. You'll forever wonder if you're enough or if there's something wrong with you to deserve that kind of treatment. Doting. Everyone immediately understands when I tell them that my emotionless father with brutally enforced, unachievable standards messed me up, but I get head tilts when I tell them that it wasn't helpful, that I could do no wrong in my mother's eyes. I had no guide for understanding responsible behavior because literally nothing was acceptable to my father, and my mother wouldn't do anything but love me no matter how objectively horrible and insane I was. I have no idea how I made it to adulthood with any reasonable understanding of acceptable behavior. I manage a lot of people in their late teens, early 20s, and what you're saying resonates a lot with what I see in them. And good on you for being open and honest with yourself about it. Like what you said, a lot of them have been through some crap, but the fact that they've also been put up on a pedestal and been told they can do no wrong has arguably messed them up more than the really bad crap. Other people's experiences. For example, I've never been cheated on, but I've seen so many of my friends getting destroyed by a cheating girlfriend that I now have a sort of pathological aversion to people who seem like they might cheat. It was especially pronounced when I was doing my military conscription. Virtually every guy who had a GF got cheated on or at least broke up, and I do think that messed me up a little. It's kinda hard to have faith in relationships when you've witnessed so many of them fail in such a fashion, even if you've never experienced it yourself. Relationships in the military were awful. Infidelity and abuse were more common than not. Telling yourself that your trauma wasn't that bad. I spent years gaslighting myself and only realized the severity of my trauma when I began unpacking it with my therapist, and it put me in a depressive episode for 2 straight days. It's really fun when you have all the symptoms and the timelines match up, but since you can't actually remember the trauma, it must have not been that bad, if happened at all. And if you do start to remember it, your brain goes, this can't be true, it's too horrible. Then you get stuck in the state of did it or did it not. I hate my memory. Getting gaslighted and cheated on. It's something which will always be in your head if you aren't a strong and confident person anyway. No matter how much time goes by, no matter if it's a completely fresh and new relationship, from time to time the doubt will crawl into your thoughts and freak you up. Cumulative trauma. The events that most can overcome fairly easily, but too many just break a person. Car accident, death of a pet, things like that. Switching moods, behavior towards someone without providing a justification, reasoning to why. One day the person is all happy, jolly and interested in you. The next, completely the opposite and feels being pushed into talking. You start questioning everything you have done and can't find the reason. It messes you up a lot not knowing WTF happened. This is why passive aggression is so annoying. Nobody wants to go on a scavenger hunt to figure out another person's feelings. An adult's careless or offhanded comment to a child or teenager. Some things an adult, parent, teacher, etc. says to a young person can stay with them for years even if it wasn't meant badly. I'm not talking about anything abusive, that's a whole other level, but sometimes even small criticisms or observations made out loud with no ill intent can play back in someone's head and affect their relationship with that adult, or how that kid thinks about themselves. I think it's especially tough with teenagers because on one hand they sort of act like adults sometimes but they're not. So some offhanded comment about how they look or act can have long-term consequences. Something I heard that resonated with me was, does this thing need to be said? Does it need to be said by you? And does it need to be said by you at this particular moment? The axe forgets, but the tree remembers. Cheating on someone. It can give people trust issues and ruin future relationships for them. Don't be an butthole to someone you love. Asking for help with mental health problems in areas where there's no proper support network. Agreed it. There's always someone out there eager to offer support. They are usually untrained and not capable of dealing with anything they can't relate to. Usually this is limited to low mood and not clinical depression, contrary to what they think. They speak about their own personal experience and have no concept of individuality and reject the need for medication as if they know best. They also are incapable of realizing consequences, have no psychoanalysis for difficult cases to protect their own mental health, protection measures, making sure they are not endangering themselves, or risk assessment criteria, assessing to ensure the person isn't going to kill themselves. They just sit smugly and assume they're capable of dealing with anything with no knowledge of how diverse and complex mental health problems can be and how damaging their advice can be. If you need professional advice, don't take it from someone offering support on Reddit. These people assume they are going to offer a solution to a problem, akin to an agony aunt, and not support a serious mental health problem. Seriously mentally ill people sometimes need to be medicated just to go to sleep. They aren't going to benefit from hearing how Joe Blogs feels good when he goes for a jog in the morning. There's been a huge push to make mental health have equal stigma to physical health, but nobody acknowledges that treatment should also be the same. If I break my arm, I'll get professional treatment for it, and if I suffer from clinical depression, I'll also get professional treatment for it. Being dismissive of someone's health problem symptoms, refusing to take them seriously, regardless of whether the symptoms are real or not. My health issues are 100% real, and I have never lied or exaggerated. If anything, I have understated the severity of my problems. Being dismissed by a senior specialist and having a life-changing treatment permanently stopped against my will, just because the doctor refused to take me seriously, has done massive damage to my self-esteem and overall mental health. Damage I'm very unlikely to be able to fix, as my health is much worse than before and my trust of doctors is forever broken. Infertility and miscarriage loss. Incredibly common stuff but still treated like taboo subjects. As someone who experienced both and recently had a successful pregnancy, the worrying emotions you have are hard to deal with. So thankful for the new life you created. Still grieving the baby that should have been. Grieving the loss of a regular or normal pregnancy and birth experience. Basically treating your body like a science experiment. Thousands of shots, medications, tests, procedures. It fricks with your head. Bad. Getting fired from a job. It only happened to me once, but it has made me so afraid to commit to a mortgage, car payment, etc. It can happen so quickly and destroy everything around you. Bad therapy. I already had trust issues with people, but I always managed to keep going and hoping. I didn't have trust issues with therapists. I stuck with the wrong therapist for too long and now I am absolutely knocked out of life. Do not trust anyone. I'm terrified of therapists and become panicky when I am around people, especially in one-on-one situations. Like a lot of people, I underestimated the negative effects therapy can have on me. It happened over a year ago and I am still a wreck and can't let a new therapist in to help me on top of it. Rants, problems, experiences of your friend, relatives that you heard from them. I have a friend from New York. I visited her and she shared her first-hand experience of 9/11. She was near the World Trade Center during that time. She shared all the horrors of seeing a body falling and hitting the ground, debris falling, people burning, and so on. It was few years ago, but her story, first-hand experience, still haunts me to this day. Being ugly. People who just don't understand that personality and talents aren't always enough. You don't get many choices in a number of areas, and when we come off as rude, it's a way of saying you don't understand, you can't understand, and you're going to make no effort to understand. You don't know my life better than I do. I'm a delight in person, but when someone tells me it's all just confidence, or that partners and employers are only looking for character, I have no patience left. One thing I struggle with is that I have eye problems. Now I don't need to wear glasses. The problem is that I can't track words and letters. For example, I will read a book and I think I'll start to read the next line, but I don't. And I just read the same line over and over. Now my friends in school usually get mad at me whenever I don't read something correctly. I know it's a joke, but having anxiety as well makes it really hard to see it as a joke. They don't know the problem I have. My partner of 6.5 years cut off all contact with me weeks after we were looking to buy a place together. We lived together for over 4 years, talked marriage, kids, etc. Then one day, she just left, took her things, and left me to deal with our lease, all the stuff she didn't want in the apartment. I got package in the mail from a mortgage broker addressed to her saying congratulations on your new home on the front. Looks like she just bought a place without me. It's been 8 weeks and I haven't had a good night's sleep since. It's all I think about and I'm fearful of what the lasting implications are on my psyche. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.